The war on consciousness is a nervous system war. And it's a war on the parasympathetic nervous system. And the name of the game is get everybody, as many humans as you can, preferably all of the humans, to operate from a perception that is limited and dictated by the sympathetic nervous system. Now, the sympathetic nervous system is the fight or flight response. This is the response your body elicits if, let's say, you're driving and you suddenly brake because we're about to hit a car or something. Your body is going to secrete cortisol, stress hormones, adrenaline to help you deal with the situation, whether it's a fight or flight. Whether it's if you hit the brake, I guess that would be a flight response in that case, right? You're running away from hitting the car. It really doesn't matter. The bottom line is it's your body is in survival mode. And so the entire society, and it's not just your body, because your body is your temple. And so if your body is constantly in a state of survival, your consciousness is limited to that. Your consciousness becomes identified with the beast, with the animal, with the character, with the illusion. And pretty soon, since you're always in survival mode, you're at this point purely ego, which means you're only concerned with self-preservation. Anytime you're concerned with only self-preservation, you have totally left that space, that consciousness space, and you've gone totally into the illusion. You see, because you're afraid of death, because you think this is it, because you're in the illusion of separation, and you're totally bought into it. So the architects of the Matrix, the designers, and they're really a handful of them, folks. There's maybe like 15 or 20 of them, really. Like we're talking about the people, the architects of this whole thing. Okay, and I'm not talking about the architect of the universe or anything. I'm talking about the matrix, the socio-economic matrix. That's what I'm talking about, the socio-economical matrix. So that would be all the programs, the 9-to-5 program, the education school program, the science program, all these programs that we're programmed with, that we grow up with, that give us our reality for us, essentially, our modality of perceiving. So the architects of the socioeconomic matrix, they're quite smart. They're really smart. In fact, I was watching a video by David Wilcock, and he was saying that he's really into ETs and stuff, and he was saying that there is only about 15 or I think 20 of those people that are controlling the Illuminati, even, so even within the Illuminati and the elites, there are levels. And so at the top level, you've only got a handful of those folks, and apparently they have immortality and all these like powers that they basically sold their soul for, and so they can see it from a different perception, and they're smart enough, obviously, at that point, because they want everybody to be their slave. They're in the power trip, so they know exactly what they're doing, and they know how the human brain works, the nervous system, the genetics. It is in many ways a DNA war, and they designed this socioeconomic matrix to be operating in the sympathetic nervous system. So pretty much keep everybody in survival mode. Keep everybody afraid. I mean, that's fear. Survival, sympathetic nervous system is fear. Okay, so you're afraid, they get you in debt. So you're afraid that your house is gonna get repossessed, your car is gonna get repossessed, your land's gonna get repossessed if you don't pay your next bill. and that sets off a chain reaction of fearful actions. So you take it, you agree to work something that you are you don't like, and it gives you misery because you're afraid. Because what if you miss your next payment? What if you miss your next mortgage payment? And then the bank is gonna come after you. So the whole socioeconomic matrix, including from the smallest things to the biggest things, like I mean, look at the sound of the ambulance and the police. It's very, very distressing, and this is all deliberate. It's very distressing. Now the driver of the ambulance, the driver of the police, they're just slaves. They have no idea. They're just, they're cogs in the machine. They're NPCs. They don't know that. They don't know that. I'm talking about the people that, the architects of the socioeconomic matrix, right? It's all by design. I mean, the sound, the ambulance and police, like, it's by deliberate design. Very distressing. Very distressing. And remember, sound is so powerful, because everything is a manifestation of sound, really. Sound and light. And sound is extremely powerful, extremely powerful. So, with these sounds all the time, it's really distressing. It activates the sympathetic nervous system, much like listening to something, classical, Beethoven, Bach or something. It'll activate the parasympathetic. And I talked in previous video how I found that universally, just through experimentation with driving with Uber, that classical music seems to elicit the most relaxing, and it's universal. Almost everyone, I think everyone pretty much felt relaxed, calm, and peaceful, and actually left comments and good ratings and etc. because of classical music. So that's how powerful music is. That's how powerful sound is. So all the sounds you hear in the city, from the ambulance, the fire alarms, the sound of traffic, the noises, they're all deliberately designed to elicit a response in the sympathetic nervous system, to keep you in fight or flight, to keep you living in fear. So the war is a war against your nervous system, against your DNA, against your genetics. That's the war that's been going on. But luckily, because the original design of everything within this matrix of life, there is the socioeconomic matrix and there is the matrix of life. The matrix of life that is by the all, by the creator, the ultimate reality of things, Brahman. That's the matrix of life. So the matrix of life is the way it is, the Tao. It's just like trees, animals, human beings, right? It's all, human beings have been tinkered, their DNA has been tinkered with for so long. But the original design of the earth, because you just look at the earth herself, it will tell you, because everything sort of springs up from the earth. Okay, all the vegetables and plant kingdom and animal kingdom, it all comes from the planet. So you have to look at the planet to see what the original design of the planet was. Very, very clearly, the original design was a very benevolent design. How do I know this? And how is it so obvious? Because the healing force, the healing modality within the planet herself and her children, that is the human being, that is the animals, everything heals. Everything heals. Animals, they know if they're injured, they stop eating, they just relax. They go into parasympathetic nervous system and they heal. Now, what is this magic going on? What's going on here? Why do they heal? Why don't they just die? Why don't they just die? Why when you sleep, why don't you decay even more? When you fast, why don't you just keep decaying? Why is it that you heal? Because there's a healing force in this matrix of life. And it's very benevolent. Why else would it heal? Why else would it rejuvenate? So the original design of the human being, so the earth, human being is from the earth. So the original design of the earth and all her children, the original creation, is very benevolent. Okay, so no matter how much triggering has been going on in the DNA, if you go and into your parasympathetic nervous system and you begin to live from that place more and more, you're going to see magical things happen, because you're simply tuning yourself into the original design of this vehicle that you're driving, the original design of the planet, of the spaceship that you're on right now. Okay, so that's a good thing, is, you know, no matter how much tinkering in our DNA, in the human DNA, has been going on, and no matter how much control and deliberate control and manipulation there is by the powers that be and the architects of the socioeconomic matrix, it doesn't matter, because the original design is the original design, and it's through your parasympathetic nervous system that you're going to be able to access this all the pros, all the perks that come out of the original design, which is very benevolent, very healing, very loving, very compassionate. And so your job then, knowing all this, becomes to live more and more from your parasympathetic nervous system. So the first thing you want to go to is your breath, your breathing, because that's how you activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So you want to do breath work on a daily basis. You want to slow down your breathing. And it's not that difficult, folks, because all you have to do is sit and just observe your breath, okay? Observe your breath, and it will slow down on its own. Just observe your breath, it will slow down on its own. Try it, it'll slow down on its own. Just put your hands on your belly, lay down, and just observe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it'll slow down on its own. You could deliberately slow it down. You could breathe through your nose, out through your mouth, and you could do that to kickstart the process. I like to do that just to kickstart the process, but you know, you should ultimately be breathing, you know, just through your nostrils, in and out. And the breath should be shallow, actually. What I mean by shallow is diaphragmatic. So when people say deep breathing, they're talking about the diaphragm, but it actually should be like as if no one's breathing. It should be as if no one is breathing. It's like it's almost nobody there. Okay? And if you do more and more of that, that's why, you know, breath work, meditation, all these things that deal with the breath are absolutely foundational. Now, you've got some things like the Wim Hof breathing and the cold showers. These things are sympathetic nervous system. They activate the sympathetic nervous system. But they do it in a way, you're not in that mode all day long, first of all. If you're going to do a cold shower, it's going to be like 10 minutes, you know, 15 tops. And that's it. And then you actually elicit parasympathetic nervous system benefits from that sort of shock on the sympathetic. Because, you know, our sympathetic nervous system is designed to be elicited probably on a daily basis, actually, but for very short amounts of time. Bursts, sprints, you know, jumping in a lake just to warm up your body, you know, things like that. That's the design of the sympathetic nervous system. So these things like the Wim Hof breathing, or the jumping in a cold bath, cold shower, a cold lake, they elicit just the right response as far as your sympathetic nervous system goes that actually reaps even more parasympathetic nervous system benefits. So what I was saying is, you know, slow down your breathing. That's it. It is that simple. It is that simple. You know, Vipassana meditation is very powerful. Why? Because you just sit down and you observe your breath, rising, falling, and of course there are thoughts. There is this, my knee hurts, this, that. You observe all of it, but you always go back to your breath. So that becomes your foundation, your center. And if you could make your breath your center, so that's where you always go back to, So you always go back to your breath. So you get a thought and you go on the trip. You go on the thought form, whatever it is. You get a sexual thought, you follow that. Next thing you know, you got a hard on, or whatever. Okay, and then you're like, oh, okay, let me go back to my breath. And then you get another thought, a negative thought perhaps, and you get lost in it. And then you remember, oh, I'm just gonna go back to my breath. And then you go back to your breath. And then pretty soon you see the thoughts are like just birds flying, clouds. They come and go. And then you'll start to learn how to not attach to them, but just sort of let them pass, let them go. And your ability not to attach to a thought becomes more enhanced because you're practicing. It's all about practice. If you look at it just like a sport, I have the good luck, the good fortune of being an athlete all my life growing up, and so I kind of just look at meditation as a sport. And if you do it like that and you just like see the sets, reps, and you practice, you'll get much better. You get really good at it. And and then you operate more and more from the parasympathetic nervous system, and that's where the magic is. That's where the juju is. That's where the meat and butter of everything is. That's where you're gonna get revelations. That's where you're gonna get superpowers if you're meant to get superpowers. That's where you're gonna get premonitions and all kinds of cool things, and just well-being and health and happiness and joy and abundance. It's all in the parasympathetic nervous system. So really, like, yes, there is a war going on. There's a conspiracy that's been going on for thousands of years now, but it's the cure is very simple. Just sit down or lay down and breathe. Just breathe. That's it. It's simple. It's very simple. Very, very simple. Not complex at all. So that's about it. Thank you to the Patreons who support this channel. I really, really appreciate you guys. And if you'd like to join the family, there is a link in the description. If you would like to make a one-time donation, you don't want to go down the Patreon route, I have a PayPal link as well in the description, so you can put in whatever, penny, couple of pennies, couple of dollars, couple of $1,000, up to you. So so that's in the description. Love you guys, and until next time, may the force be with you.